It begins quietly, unnoticed by many. Diabetes, a silent force that affects over 500 million people worldwide. It's a condition that doesn't just disrupt lives, it changes them. This month, in our Health Focus campaign, proudly brought to you by Ear Pharmacy, we embark on a journey to uncover the truths about diabetes. But what if we told you that knowledge, early action, and the right support can turn this challenge into a story of strength and resilience? As we close out November, Diabetes Awareness Month, we're reminded of the critical importance of raising awareness and sharing knowledge about this life-changing condition. Join us as we shine a light on diabetes, not just to reflect on this Awareness Month, but to inspire hope and action year-round. Because with the right tools and knowledge, every challenge becomes a chance to thrive. In an exclusive multi-part series, Dr. Jacques van Staden from the Center of Diabetes Excellence will guide us through the complexities of this condition, from understanding early warning signs to the cutting-edge innovations shaping diabetes care today. We'll explore it all.
Diabetes, also called diabetes mellitus, is a very old condition, all right? And it's divided into two main groups, type 1s and type 2s, and these are the two common groups that most people will know about. That is then actually redefined into smaller groups. Our type 1s are an autoimmune process. That means that the body attacks itself through this autoimmune process. The cause of that autoimmune process, no one really knows why. It normally happens in younger children. Can be anything from 6 months upwards, and that autoimmune process is like a trigger. So there is some genetics that is a problem, maybe a family history, but not always the main reason that there must be a family genetic component or family history of diabetes, but there is definitely a trigger that switches on this autoimmune process, and where the body actually goes and then destroys a lot of the beta cells in the pancreas. And the beta cells' function is to produce insulin. And these kids then will be dependent on exogenous insulin injections lifelong. And it will be multiple daily injections. They need to test their blood sugar regularly, and up to 6 times a day, and they need to give themselves injections with meals, and then also normally a long-acting insulin with bedtime to cover them while they are sleeping. Now that trigger for the autoimmune process can be anything from a viral infection, environmental factors, major stressors. We've seen this if there is maybe a death in the family and the sibling doesn't handle it well, or there is maybe divorce. But these things are arbitrary, and we don't always know exactly what is that trigger, and is it actually that specific event that has led to it. But the autoimmune process is there. We can't stop it at all. Kids do go through a little bit of a honeymoon phase where there is the sort of rebound where they get a little bit of residual insulin function, and a lot of people think that their kid is cured, but then the process completes and they need to use daily injections. Type 2s are a completely different story. The true type 2s, they dug a hole for themselves, and that's why we call this the silent killer. So there might also be a genetic component, but it's because families eat together the same type of foods, am I right? And tradition context, you know? So what has been happening in the last, if you think about it, in the last 40, 50 years, we have been moved away after the Second World War, where there was a lot of hunger, famine, Great Depression, into a commercialized era where we've become more overfed. There is not as much lack as what there was before. we are oversaturated with food. This then leads to obesity. So overweight first, obesity, and obesity with genetics then becomes a great fireball for metabolic disease, and that is diabetes, hypertension, that leads then to cardiovascular disease, and that is why the true type 2 diabetic that is obese and overweight, if they make the lifestyle change, they are able to reverse their diabetes. If they have not completely depleted their pancreas function, because a lot of type 2 diabetes patients, if they continue a specific way of lifestyle, so that is a high carb diet, they will also end up on insulin anyway. A type 2 that is on insulin is not a type 1. He is just needing insulin, all right, to do the work that his pancreas can't do anymore because he literally used it up. The other component of that is insulin resistance, and that's a very common thing people know, and they might use some over-the-counter medication. But insulin resistance literally just means your own body is resistant to its own insulin, and this comes from a fatty pancreas. Now, where does that fatty pancreas or fatty liver comes from? It's being fed from toddler time. You know, when we grew up, it's what do you get for breakfast?
Right.
It's Kellogg's cornflakes, Rice Krispies, it's pap, milli-meal pap,
yes.
with like 2 sugars over. When you go to school, you get nice sandwich. That's
Tuck
it.
shop,
Yeah,
snacks.
tuck shop, snacks, Coca-Cola, Fanta orange, Oros, and it's peanut butter bread with stroop. Lekker. You know, it's like, it's sugar, it's thick, you know?
Yeah.
And if you think about it, we even grew up with like pumpkin, and it's laced with sugar. Sweet potato, which is sweet potato, is laced with sugar. Everything has been laced with sugar. And a lot of people have this misconception that cardiovascular disease is due to the fat on the meat, but it's not. It is the sugar. That is why Alzheimer's today is called type 3 diabetes.
So there you have it. Diabetes is a complex but silent killer. But that's not it. Stay with us for our next episode, where we'll be diving into a topic that connects 3 major health challenges: diabetes, cancer, and Alzheimer's. But it's not just about understanding the risks. We'll also explore on the lifestyle changes that can make a real difference. Simple, actionable steps to protect your health and improve your quality of life. Join us as we unpack the connection between these conditions and empower you to take control of your well-being. Don't miss it.